Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com and joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE NXT 2.0. John, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Feeling maybe a little better about the show overall compared to last week. So there were some things to like tonight, some things to feel good about, some not so much, but we'll get into all of that. Before we do, just want to remind you all, this show, like everything we do here, is available on all of our platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So leave a like and subscribe. So I guess the big thing to talk about before even the show itself is the announcement officially that we are getting, I don't think they used the TakeOver name in the announcement, but TakeOver War Games on December 5th. So that very much is something to look forward to. Less than 1 month away from the first TakeOver-like event of this 2.0 era. So that's good. I've missed having War Games or War Games and just takeovers in general. And I liked Halloween Havoc for that reason, that it felt special. And so hopefully they'll even kind of one up that, because I thought that was a very good show. With DJ expressing his excitement, Nesh is excited for War Games as well, and Eddie saying War Games is back, but without Undisputed Era. So yes, and it is a new era because this will be again the first War Games in this 2.0 era, the first War Games. I believe Undisputed Era was in all of the other ones in the NXT. Under the NXT umbrella, so definitely lots of stuff changing here. And yeah, but all you guys in the comments seem very happy about War Games here. Thumbs up from Steven Chambers. So John, what do you think about the announcement that War Games, and I guess by extension TakeOver, or a TakeOver like event, will be back here in just less than a month?
Yeah, so looks like they did drop the takeover name, so it looks like from now on it's just going to be just NXT, whatever the event is. That's fine. I really need William Regal to finish it off for good, though, to give us the War Games announcement, and I'm sure he will, although we haven't really seen him very much in recent
I
weeks,
was just
so
thinking that. No.
we'll see what they do there. But I do think that it was much needed to bring back events like this. Uh, on a Sunday. I mean, not just on a special Tuesday night event, but an actual weekend pay-per-view event. Really their first time to shine. So many ideas already floating around. Could they do old school versus new school? Could they do just what they've done in the past, where kind of build like three or four stories into one big War Games match, which is more likely, but with people that were, really hoping that Survivor Series would turn into something maybe like a War Games match across brands, which clearly isn't happening. I do think this kind of makes up for it with now they're going to do this. But here's my question: did the last time they did War Games, was it in the Performance Center or not? Because I don't remember. And I know you need space to do this. So I was just wondering, where might they have an event like this? And now that I see the last one in 2020
I was just gonna say.
it was in the Capitol Wrestling Center, so scratch that. They are capable of doing this there, and they probably will do it there. So yeah, the last one in 2020 was in Orlando, Florida. It was actually December 6th, and this one's going to be December
Oh, that's
5th.
ironic. Yeah.
So yeah, it is a year later. I don't know how we overlooked that. I could have swore it was earlier, but hey, that's what it was. And of course, for those of you watching, the main event was Team McAfee versus Undisputed Era. It was
Yeah.
Pat McAfee in the match, and it was a big match there. So I think it has the potential to be something special, but I need to see some more of the card before I can make that determination. But in a nutshell, overall standpoint, I'm happy it's back.
Oh, for sure. And I would agree that, by and large, any real, I won't say judgment, any like real excitement about the show really does come down to the card. But it'll be good to have War Games, and again, just some event back. Nestor pointing out, without a pay per view otherwise in December, this at least gives us something to kind of uh, essentially get through the month. Whereas now we kind of just look forward to that, and then admittedly it's pretty much the first week, but still it's something on the calendar, so that is good. I would agree. Yeah, like this. As much as I'm excited about this, it also reminded me, like, hey, we haven't really seen William Regal. DJ's asking if Regal's a mysterious cut that like we don't know about. I wouldn't think so. I think like if that were a thing that would have gotten out there. it more feels probably like that he's just maybe not part of the NXT 2.0 brand that they're going for, because he was so tied to the old brand. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. I think like he is NXT in a lot of ways in terms of the on-screen, the authority role there. Just he holds it. I think that'd be a nice kind of what's the word, like a cohesive like unit where he can kind of tie it together in that way. So hopefully if he does come back soon, to announce whatever we do wind up getting. And speaking of that, Eddie's pitching some ideas here. You could have Team Dakota versus Team Raquel Gonzalez. You could do Legado versus Diamond Mine. I think that'd be fun. There are things they could do. I like the team old school versus new school kind of thing. I think that's the most kind of appealing thing to me at this point, other than something kind of like this Legado and Diamond Mine thing, or I think Dakota and Raquel makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I like the idea of the old school versus new school thing, depending on how the rest of the card kind of shapes up. But again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. They literally just announced it. So I think the only one I'd kind of bank on at this point would be Dakota and Raquel, because that would make a lot of sense. And some nice full circle thing there where Raquel's kind of breakout moment came at that last War Games when she pinched Io Shirai, and that was kind of her rapid rise to the top there. So definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll be able to have a little more information about that card soon. I mean, it is pretty much just under a month away, so ideally they'll start able to do it soon. But yeah, and again, ideally we'll have Regal kind of tie everything together and announce these things, and we'll get the good old War Games line from him. But if not, again, I'm just glad to have this. So if that, I thought tonight's show was bookended by good matches and just good things, and to begin the show and to end it, and in between maybe not so much. But the first, I think, over like half an hour, two back-to-back very, very good women's matches. We had Toxic Attraction versus Casey Catanzaro, Kaden Carter, and Io Shirai. Very good match there. The champions won, as they should. They're on a roll. Yet again, I say Mandy Rose, I really think she's on a roll in herself, just like she's really on a great run. You can tell she's got confidence. And she already had that kind of star factor about her. And now you can tell she's really kind of feeling it and really getting into it and kind of growing into this as we go here. So Steven Chambers as well saying that was a great match to start the show. I'm trying to remember the exact finish, but I think Gigi Dolan got the pin, I believe, which was good. I think it's good to have each member of the team kind of shining there. And not much to it was a clean win. There was nothing to really write home about, in terms of, nothing really coming out of it until later in the show. We had a Toxic Attraction bragging. We had a brief stare down between Mandy Rose and Kaylee Ray, who's coming out for the second match. And later in the show, Mandy had said, "Oh, I'm not intimidated by you, blah, 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 get in line." And then Raquel Gonzalez shows up on a motorcycle and says, "I'll deal with you later." And we'll talk about Raquel in a little bit there. But overall here, John, what do you think about Toxic Attraction winning yet again, and maybe where they're going kind of moving forward? Because they just beat their prospective challengers, so it's not like they really have a leg to stand on in that sense.
Yeah, I like the direction they're going so far, kind of making them an arrogant stable that likes to claim how good they are, but then they kind of back it up at the same time. And we really haven't seen a group like this, dare I say, and since Undisputed Era, where they are talking the talk and walking the walk, per se. I think that Eddie's prediction of Mandy versus Io is likely correct. Not sure where they go with the tag team direction, though. I mean, like you said, they kind of beat the prospective challengers, but do you think that automatically erases the possibility that we could see that match anyway?
No, because it's easy to be like, "Oh, that was a 6-person tag team match. You haven't beaten us 2-on-2," and then maybe they'll do the classic thing of like then the challengers find a way to beat them. Maybe Io kind of distracts them or something like that, and there you go. So maybe that's when we get on TV at some point over the next couple of weeks, or maybe on the kickoff show for Takeover, the War Games, I should say. And DJ's pointing out that Gigi Dolan pinned Io Shirai, which is not necessarily surprising, but it's noteworthy because Shirai being the former champion, I think that's definitely a good indicator that, hey, like, did they kind of recognize Gigi as somebody that could be going places for them? I think she could be maybe kind of obviously beyond Mandy in terms of, I think part of the purpose here is to kind of elevate JC and Gigi. And I see Gigi as someone that could really be a breakout star. And I don't know, tonight I was thinking about it, like she had a really impressive outing in this match, and I thought they could go the classic route of like having her eventually kind of rise up and maybe turn on Mandy or something like that down the road. If it plays out that way, if they get enough time to kind of tell that story, I think that'd be pretty darn cool. So yes, a good outing for Toxic Attraction. They're still on a roll. They're still having a good run here. I'm liking that. And so then that kind of paved the way. We talked about Kaylee Ray coming out. She had a match where she wanted to start her rage against Saray. And I thought this match coming off of the 6-woman tag team match, was a good way to kind of showcase the depth of the women's division here. And John, you and I have talked about that before with call-ups, with releases. That's kind of coming into question a little bit. But having two good matches back to back kind of reminds you, like, no, this is still a very good division. Kaylee Ray and Saray, two very, very talented performers. DJ's wondering, Steven wondering, when was the last time Saray won a match? Because it felt like she hasn't really won all that much. But she has been on 205 Live lately, picking up some wins there. But on NXT itself, I feel we haven't seen a whole lot of her in that sense. Once we have seen her, I don't think she's picked up too many wins. But I thought this was a very, very good match. Kaylee Ray won, and so then she could eventually potentially throw her hat in the ring for a title shot as well. But all of a sudden, the women's division, we were reminded tonight, I think, that it still has a lot of depth, and it's got a couple of interesting directions that could go with it, especially as it relates to who could challenge Mandy Rose.
Yeah, although I do think that, like I said before, Io is probably the one that's going to be next up, but Kaylee Ray is also interesting as well. There is an evolving women's division that has kind of been reborn with the quote-unquote departure of Raquel Gonzalez and Candice LeRae being gone with a baby, so there's just so many moving parts to this.
Yeah, and Raquel still around. We know that she'll be feuding with. She is feuding with Dakota Kai. Whatever the future holds for that remains to be seen. Again, we talked about War Games, maybe that. But Kaylee Ray definitely has a good track record as well. Ness reminding that she is the former NXT UK Women's Champion, the longest reigning NXT UK Women's Champion. So it would be pretty easy to set her up to feud with Mandy at some point soon. But Mandy kind of brushed her off, saying, grab a number and not really worrying about it. But I do feel like they are kind of clearly gearing toward Mandy versus Io and maybe Kaylee Ray after that. But again, it's good to have options. Good to have kind of two storylines maybe at the same time there. So, I mean, yeah, and then to have that as well as Raquel and Dakota, I think that's very good on top of that. So that's a good thing. That was a good start of the show. That seemed to be kind of generally what well received of having those two good matches. And then trying to stay positive here, we had a bookend of having a very good main event. We had Carmelo Hayes versus Pete Dunne in a very good match. They had a confrontation earlier in the show. And Pete Dunne was not having Carmelo Hayes' trash talk. Hayes and Trick Williams just running their mouths. I think Trick Williams called him like a bootlicker or something. I think he called his mom a bobblehead. It's a bunch of some stuff like that. So a good match, and I really thought it was a very good main event there. What do you think about the main event with the outcome that we wound up seeing?
Oh, I'm not really surprised because let's not forget that they still want to satisfy fans of the old NXT, and doing this, I think, does that. But at the same time, how do you think this affects, like, obviously the loser of the match and the losers of the match? Like, what effect does this have? Like, do you think it's really going to be that bad?
In terms of like his Kamel is like standing?
Yeah.
No, he's fine. Like he's been like one of the
and
like
which is what I thought too. And let's not forget the birthday boy.
Yeah, well, it was sucked to have Pete Dunne lose on his birthday. They announced the match. I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't lose. That'd be kind of a shame. And there's always the thought of like, oh, it's not great to have champions lose when you don't feel like they only need to. But I thought the way they did it was fun. You had Dexter Lumis kind of pop up on commentary, and you think that he's there, and then he stops Trick Williams from interfering, and then kind of right around when that happens, you see these two gloved hands pop up from the apron, and you're like, oh, I think it's Dexter. And then once being Johnny Gargano, and the distraction helps Dunn get the win. So it's a good one for Dunn. It's perfectly excusable to have, Hayes was clearly distracted. If hands popped up from the ring, and if I were in there, I'd be distracted. So like, as long to me, distractions are fine if it's like kind of like done in a believable way. I thought that was fine. It's literally someone's like hands just popping up. For me, it's more like, it's a good way to build a feud. I think it will ultimately, this will ultimately be good for Hayes because he's probably going to beat Johnny Gargano. If it is a takeover, I think that'll make sense. Steven's saying we could get a triple threat match because Dunn just pinned the champion. I think that'd be a great match, and that'd be very, very good. So yeah, I think that's something to potentially look forward to. But no, I thought this is one of those cases where, yeah, he lost, but he's fine. Like, he's been one of the best, breakout stars of NXT 2.0 so far. He's main event. I think Wade Barrett said it on commentary. He's been in the main event, I think, 2 weeks in a row, or if not 2 of the last 3 weeks. So he's clearly like he called himself the champion, and he's backing it up. He's having a good match, or having good matches, every time he's out there. So I'm liking this. I think he could definitely be one of the real success stories of this whole NXT 2.0 thing a couple months down the line. So definitely a fan of that. And I think that they've already done a good job, I think, of building the story. And ideally, they'll be able to kind of successfully draw it out so that it could have a takeover and be a very good match. So I'm liking that as well. But something I'm not liking whatsoever is jacket time. They announced that Kushida and Ikemanjiro will be teaming together with the name of Jacket Time. DJ is saying he's digging it. And my friend, I'm sorry, I'm not digging it. I think it's a horrid name. A horrid name. And then Odyssey Jones comes out to help them fend off Dynamite after a tag team match where the Creed brothers beat this new team of Jacket Time. And then the WWE Twitter post the gif of it, and they're like, is Odyssey Jones the newest member of Jacket Time? I'm like, no, keep this guy as far, if you want to do a temporary 6-man whatever as they do, fine, but don't even put that out there. Honestly, he comes out, gets the great cheers. I think he could be another very good success story. But Jacket Time, and I will say, 2 very, very talented guys, Kushida and Ikemanjiro, are great. If they were an actual team, positioned seriously, cool.
What does Jacket Time even mean? I don't know. I mean, you can't help but to laugh when you see that. What in the world?
I have no idea. I tweeted about it. I just said Jacket Time. I don't even know what to say about it. It's I don't know why that's a thing in terms of the name. Poor Kushida, 100%. This man deserves so much better. He is great. And I can't say I'm surprised because, again, a couple weeks ago we had that vignette in the bathroom. So I guess this tracks what they've been handling him recently. But man, yeah, not great. This is not very good. But on the flip side, don't love this name. I think they're a good team, and I thought they had a good match with the Creed brothers. I mean, Diamond Mine, the beginnings of the stable were a little rough, but I think they've really kind of hit their stride. We had this backstage promo from Malcolm Bivens in the group. They're watching Jacket Time at their gym, and they had this promo saying that those guys are dorks, they're dweebs. We're going to show the Jacket Times, we're going to show them the Diamond Mine is legit. So Roderick Strong, Creed brothers, Ivy Nile, and Hachiman, I believe. I think they're really finding their stride and gelling, and I'm liking it, and I'm glad they're winning. I mean, kind of in some ways Toxic Attraction. I think that they're being positioned very well, and I think that's good. I think it's good to have stables looking impressive like this. So that was good. They confirmed a 6-man. I mentioned it hypothetically. No, I forgot. They confirmed the 6-man for next week. It will be Odyssey Jones and as an honorary member of Jacket Time against Roderick Strong and the Creed brothers. I think that will be very good. Could lead to a cruiserweight title match, maybe with Roderick and Odyssey, if they decide to bend the rules for Odyssey there, because obviously, as John pointed out a couple weeks ago, Odyssey is not under 205 pounds, but I feel like they could easily kind of overlook that for a fun match there. So
we already have honorary guests of Jacket Time after a week.
Sure. Oh man. Something that was, I think that was kind of universally not so well like tonight, but something that, maybe a little less universal. At least the DJ's putting out a good thing with Boa, getting some fan support from NXT Universe. The fans did seem behind Boa tonight when he kind of turned into the Fiend, because last week he debuted some new face paint, and this week he's facing Joe Gacy. Gacy with a pre-match promo saying he wants to bring out the real Boa, whatever that means. fine. And again, I say, Gacy, you can say what you will about the specific gimmick, but he's got presence. I think he's playing the part very well. So that's a positive. And so he had this match with Boa, not too much to write home about. And then a couple minutes in, the lights start flickering red and black, and I think some music played. And then Boa kind of powers up and starts choking Gacy out, and he gets the 5 count, so he gets disqualified. So Boa has superpowers, I guess. And then Gacy was smiling after the match, and pointing out that I guess he liked it, or he was happy that he at least brought out this dark side of Boa here. But I don't know. I mean, it's something. It's something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but it doesn't make you wonder, like, what in the world is going on? Like, what in the world?
That is NXT in a nutshell at this point. Again, we were booking it by 2 very good matches. And for me, NXT at its best was delivering good matches. And admittedly, I've been an outspoken fan of some of its better stories. But with stuff like this, I have no idea what's going on. DJ's asking if we see Boa potentially joining Gacy's crew. Of course, you've got Harland in there as well. When the lights started flickering, I thought Harland was going to come out, doing his kind of pseudo serial killer kind of thing. But no, it was Boa bringing out his true self. Maybe. Again, we have no idea what's going on. I don't know if this was Gacy trying to showcase his ability to reach people's true selves, and maybe that Boa could. Well, you remember Boa's in Tian Shaw, so unless they kind of have him leave that group for Gacy, and DJ is exactly wondering what would this mean for Mei Ying. I don't know. Again, I have no idea what's going on, but not so playing. It's mind games. You've got Gacy smiling. You've got Boa having these powers. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea where it's going. I like what we're seeing with Gacy, minus the cheap kind of reliance on some of the terms they always says about the buzzwords we've talked about before. I thought in the more general sense, just the general presence, if they kind of lean away from the buzzwords about sensitivity and tolerance and all that, and lean more into no, this guy's unbalanced, it would be pretty cool. And if that's a stable, like DJ's kind of wondering, could be interesting. But Steven's saying they're all nuts, so whatever. But this was one. Oh, I like this comment from DJ saying it could be a new Straight Edge Society with CM Punk back in the day. I like that shout. Boa, Gacy, and Harland would be, I think it's Harland. It would be a weird combination, but maybe that's the point. Maybe it's just this eclectic mix-up of people. I don't know. Yeah. But the NXT's got a couple mysteries here going on. We've got this, wherever this is going, and we have the next chapter of MSK's quest for a shaman. Apparently, John, these guys were walking all week long because they started walking last week, and we got a vignette this week where they're still walking. They reached their destination. Whoever they're looking for has relocated, and they dropped several 420 and getting high jokes there, which very much calls back to the Rascals and Impact. I think that was one of the things they did best during that run. So definitely kind of seeing that being referenced at least. Because everyone kind of most fans that are familiar with that part of their careers know that about them. So thought that was kind of a fun kind of callback there. Not just saying that they want to join the Mile High Club. That was one of the lines they had, not in the way that they had thought that it meant. But they had one line where they said they're looking for a shaman, and call me crazy, but they said that. I'm like, is it John Morrison? Because the only shaman I really know is the shaman of sexy John Morrison. And I'm like, well, that'd be something, because we know that John Morrison, all he's been doing on Raw lately is looking for his chi backstage in very brief vignettes. So that's all. That's the only kind of direction that I'm really being able to kind of foresee this going, because otherwise I'm totally in the dark. I don't know what this is about either. A lot of mysteries going on here.
Your guess is as good as me. I was dumbfounded and trying to think for the third time tonight. I'm just gonna say it again. What are we doing here? What is going on? Why does this not make sense at all?
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of the things. Yet again, we've had several kind of mysteries like this And I found like whether it was the battery charging one, the person coming back from the dead kind of thing that wound up being Dakota Kai. Hopefully this won't be too drawn out. That's just saying let's see how it plays out, because there's really no way to know. DJ pointing out that hey, it could be Morrissey. He's not doing anything on Raw, and while it would be weird because he is on the older side of the roster, and NXT is definitely gravitating more younger with the roster that it's using. Having him as like kind of the sage veteran to kind of teach these guys the ways and help them find what they're looking for, find their chi or whatever, will be something. But on the flip side, Eddie's saying maybe MSK should just go to the main roster. Even if they do kind of go back to NXT, the fans might just boo him anyway. Yeah, the fans, as we've said before, the fans have not really given them a fair shake, I guess. At first it worked, and somewhere along the way, something kind of fell off the rails, and fans would kind of turned on them. So, ironically, this would actually make sense. Maybe they're on this quest, they're walking, and they wind up on the main roster, and there you go. I don't know. Weirder things have happened. I wouldn't. There are worse ways to kind of take a situation with MSK getting booed like that, and try him out on the main roster. I think the main roster tag division could definitely use him. So yet again, Nashville saying she likes MSK, like him in Impact. I would agree. I think they're great. They're, again, just the perception has become a reality where it's like the crowd's so down on them that it feels like they kind of need something here, and maybe that's going to the main roster. But for now, they're looking for the Shaman, however it may be. And yet again, John, as you said, no idea where that's going, no idea what the real point is. But we'll see. We'll see. Speaking of the tag team division, we had a little setup for Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner, because in an interview backstage, Kyle O'Reilly, kind of like Kevin Owens, was saying, "Hey, there's a lot of uncertainty in my career right now." Wink, wink, nod, nod. And he explained like, "Oh, I could go back to the singles division or the tag division, but if you kind of look in a more broad sense, I feel like he was kind of saying something there." But he was saying, "Hey, I'm under no commitment to keep teaming with Von Wagner. It hasn't really worked out all that well so far. They lost last week, so they kind of lost their real stake to a tag title shot." But Kyle O'Reilly was like, "Hey, we could challenge the tag titles." And Imperium shows up the champions, and they're like, "Nah, no, like because you just lost." So that's interesting, because he did lose, so he doesn't really have a real case for that. But it does show like we might be kind of heading toward a potential tag team match between the two. Not sure how I feel about that, but Imperium is great, and I'm glad they're getting something here. This is the only they're only on the show very briefly here, but it looks like they might be getting some kind of storyline, so I think that's positive.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the direction's going to be. If, like you said, are they going to remain together? Or are they going to kind of go their separate ways? What's Kyle O'Reilly going to do when his contract runs out? Is he going to stay? So many unknowns here. I'm excited to see it play out. I really don't think the tag titles are changing hands anytime soon, and I think you would probably agree. But if you had to pick, split them up or keep them together, what would you pick?
I don't want to sound harsh, right? I don't, but like I'm just not seeing it with Von Wagner. And again, maybe I'm just kind of down on him because they literally thrust him into the main event title match his very first night. That just never really sat right with me. And then the vignettes we've had of him and Kyle O'Reilly in the woods, it's not quite doing it for me. And like I think at this point, especially, obviously we know the reports about Kyle O'Reilly's contract. The best way to kind of keep him would be to have him do what he was doing, putting on killer matches as a singles guy, being in the main event or main event kind of main event level-ish kind of scene of like, challenging for the title or being involved with the main stories there. He had a feud with Adam Cole. This isn't it. Like being in the woods and having these kind of goofy, to try and be overly positive about it, goofy vignettes of Von Wagner, not really digging it. And again, maybe we haven't really seen what Von Wagner really has to offer yet. I think it's still very, very early. I'm not trying to write him off either, but not really liking this too much. Steven saying that O'Reilly deserves a title match with Ciampa. I would love that. That'd be great. That'd be a fantastic match. But again, with this ongoing emphasis about the new school on NXT, feels like guys like O'Reilly and Ciampa, Gargano especially, with his contract status as well, they're kind of getting phased out. So I don't know if we would get O'Reilly versus Ciampa in that sense. So yeah, I would prefer them to be split up and then maybe get a brief run for O'Reilly as a singles again. Because I'm just wondering if we do think that Kyle will go to AEW or the main roster. I feel it's like, again, most of these guys that were / are quote unquote indie guys are probably kind of AEW bound because WWE is going in a different direction from the way they're doing things, and I think that's just the objective way to look at it. They are kind of pivoting away from the way they have been doing things in NXT and talent and the roster, the way it's set up. So I think that looks more likely. You know, maybe even, well, I would say. Yeah, actually, maybe even more likely than Kevin Owens is because he's still in NXT. Right, O'Reilly is. So it's not like he can say, "Oh, I'm on the main roster. I'm on Raw." We were talking about Owens last night. He's on the main roster. He's on Raw. He's in this featured spot. Now, just pointing out that Kyle and Johnny Gargano were in a dark match on SmackDown. So, and that's to be expected. Both guys, the contracts are coming up. So, WWE management may want to get a good look at them in person like that to kind of see what they want to do if they want to try and re-sign them, but. Yeah, yet again, we were talking about the releases last night a little bit. Anybody that's kind of fits O'Reilly's mold like that of being a fantastic wrestler, very much being an indie guy. Hate to say it because I want to see him do well here, but maybe they'd be better off going to AEW where they could really get to do what they do, That's what it really boils down to.
You make a good point. I think at this point, based off of the history of what people have done, people make assumptions that, well, they're on their way out of the door, but you never know. At some point, the tides will turn. At some point, uh, if it hasn't happened already, the roster of AEW is going to be bigger than that of WWE. And at that point, why do you keep bringing in people? Is it just because it's good PR and you look good for hiring somebody that was just fired, even though, I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. Like Matt Hardy, for example, he really hasn't done a whole lot there. It's just that he's still employed. Like my point is, at some point they have to also make releases or at least like contracts expire and not renew them. And I just would like to see the situation play out because I think that people jump to conclusions and just assumptions, and you never really know until it happens.
That's all there is to it. We sit here, we try to project or take what we see, what we think we know. Half the time, way off base because like there's just no way to know. People, you never know. Especially with this, like it's not like he's someone that got fired. His contract's coming up, so he could choose to resign if WWE wants to resign him. So there's really it's no way to know about either side of it. If WWE, I would assume WWE wants to keep him. I think he could do great things on the main roster. And that's just pointing out that. Hopefully, them being in dark matches means they will get called up. So you hope to see that. Hopefully he and Gargano really get a chance to do great things on the main roster. But at the same time, maybe they won't be able to do great things elsewhere. I think either way, both guys are very, very talented, and they're going to be doing great things no matter where they go. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on moving forward here. But speaking of and before focusing on O'Reilly, Eddie is saying with Von Wagner, they could have him kind of do what we're seeing with guys like Braun Breaker and a number of these other young guys, just have him kind of go on a singles run, showcase what he can do. Because there have been reports that everybody sees him as a potential main eventer for WrestleMania, and I definitely have not seen that myself. I'm not trying to like bury the guy, but like it's almost the opposite of Braun Breaker, because Breaker, they're booking him well, it's working, like he feels like a big deal, whereas Von Wagner, he gets thrust in the main event the first night, and then you're supposed to like kind of think it's this big deal, and then they kind of flip flop. It's a kind of confusing thing, but I think he would benefit from that, with being like, no, he can go, and maybe they kind of slow it down a little bit to kind of do a more traditional route like that. But nonetheless, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Because another young star that may be following maybe a more traditional route like that is Solo Sakoa. The Usos' younger brother. He had a good showing in a triple threat match tonight. Mainly kind of a random triple threat match with Grayson Waller and LA Knight. Obviously, those guys have been feuding. And the question here, of course, John, was can they coexist? Because they had to try and team up to defeat Solo during this match, which was supposed to be this kind of like three-way fight, right? But he's just saying Solo was awesome in this match tonight. They need to put him in the Bloodline on SmackDown and have him replace Heyman. Oh, I don't know about that. I keep Heyman, and eventually you could bring Solo up there to be the young gun, I guess. But I thought it was good. Solo was a beast. Like he threw Waller out of the ring. I think he looks great. We got a comment earlier saying that I think it was Nash just saying that So Solo, like we said last week, he looks, moves, everything about him just screams Uso. So yeah, I'm sure the day will come, probably sooner rather than later, that he will be working with his brothers on the main roster. But for now, have him grow in NXT, have him kind of get some seasoning, and I'm sure that the time will come that he'll be very, very impressive. Whether it's, I would assume it's with the Usos, but if it's by himself, and I think that he could really be a good star in his own right. So, what do you think about kind of this? I believe this was the second outing for Solo Sakoa here.
I thought it was a pretty well put together effort overall, and like we mentioned before, the move set and the gimmick, it reminds you exactly of the Usos, and that's definitely not a bad thing. I also think that taking the slower approach to kind of building him up as a big threat is smart, and I think it'll work because what's the rush? I know DJ mentioned putting him in the main roster. There's no rush for that. There's no need for that. He will be in NXT for at least a year, if not way longer than that, until they kind of solidify him as a bigger threat, like they've done so many times with other superstars that were homegrown. Because now everybody's homegrown. Nobody's coming in or coming back like Drew McIntyre or Bobby Roode or whoever that was already a big name. This is a fresh start.
It is, and they're trying to build their own kind of new star with Solo, with them and many other guys here, and in the women's division as well. But yet again, Eddie's saying that Solo will be the bloodline next year. He looks just like the Usos. You know, their face literally looks identical, and he has some of the moveset. I would agree. Again, it's uncanny in a lot of ways. But you mentioned, John, you think it'll be at least a year. It's worth pointing out, Hit Row, it was only like not less than like what 3-4 months, really. I think like total. I think they debuted in like April or May. So if something gets hot, if it gets enough buzz behind it, I think they could easily fast track it. Admittedly, BFAB got released, unfortunately, so maybe not. But you never know. But I would agree. For me, one and out, play it slow, season them, develop them, and then call them up. So. But then at the same time, maybe staying in NXT, he could kind of come into his own a little bit, because not just saying that, by looking so much like his brothers, that's a natural comparison. It's like he's literally like the third Uso. Like, how can he really stand out on his own? And that's one thing we're gonna have to wait and see, and kind of hit the next several weeks and months beyond. So with that, this was another kind of positive for tonight. There were. Yet again, we have all these character vignettes. The MSK one was kind of fun. We had Jack of Time in the past. We've had vignettes with them, not so much. But one thing I liked tonight was Andre Chase. It was like almost this like promotional thing for Andre Chase University, and then got to see him in the classroom. He was coaching, or I guess teaching several, I guess, quote unquote students, and he threw out one of the students and yelled at him and like called him, just was going off on him. And I don't know, I've said it, I say it yet again. I feel like I say it every week. Just Andre Chase, like he's great. I think he's very underrated. I think he's doing a lot of good work for this role. Very much like, I guess, maybe an earlier version of Cameron Grimes. And that, yet again, he's a character that doesn't really need to win. He's entertaining, and you have this. You get people to kind of not like him because he's a heel, and then you throw him out there. That takes a loss. That helps a babyface look better. So I thought this was fun. He was just talking about mental toughness and talking about all this stuff. I like that. I think it's a fun character. I'm liking it. And yet again, it's very hit or miss, some of these characters, some of these vignettes here. But something I didn't like so much was that you had Cameron Grimes have a match, and then Duke Hudson comes out and says, "Oh, you cheated me last week, so next week we're going to have a poker showdown." Not a match, John. A poker showdown.
Oh boy.
Not the best. And on top of that,
I feel like we're gonna be watching the World Series of Poker on ESPN, where they're gonna have their sunglasses on, people commentating, and the little graphics that show how much money's in their bank and everything. Like,
I don't want to contradict myself, because like I've sang the praises of Index and other stories we've seen so far, but I'm not like all these things. It's the good stories are good and the bad ones are not. Like that's all there really is to that. The one thing I didn't really love tonight was we had Grizzly Young Veterans were like on the street teaching each other about like robbing people and taking their delivery food. What? And then I think the punchline was like, oh, if you can like fool a stranger, you can easily fool a referee. Yet again, John, you said this earlier. It's like the whole theme of the show tonight was like, why? Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
John's speechless. We have no idea what's going on.
I just don't understand. Like, when thinking about what the thought process is, and you have no ideas, then it's like, yeah.
Yeah, DJ saying that Grizzly veterans was acting like they're poor and homeless as part of this trickery and this like just deceit, I guess. But I don't know. These guys, top-notch tag team, and now they're kind of getting boxed into this like weird comedy thing. This is the first time we've seen this, so I'm not saying we won't know. Yet again, no idea where this is going. If this is the new gimmick, not sure that's doing it for me. But they did, and they had suits too, so that made even weirder. They're trying to do this like hustling thing, but they're in suits. Steven's saying they'd be better off going next to UK. I would agree, but not sure if that's in the cards or not. But we've been pretty critical. I do want to wrap on one positive for me at least, because we did get an Index reference, two of them technically, because we had an Indy Hartwell promo where she was saying that she was upset she lost the Scare Way to Hell ladder match. She touched the titles just like she touched Sexy Dexy. I thought that was a great line. And then that sets up an unexpected match with Tony D'Angelo, everyone's favorite NXT star, and Dexter Lumis, because Tony gifts Indy a fish, because obviously he was sleeping with the fishes, as the saying goes. And he said, "Oh, I'm gonna beat your husband next week, and then you'll be on the open market." And John, I literally tweeted, I was like, "Oh, Tony's trying to break up Index. Heel turn confirmed. Get out of here! Like leave the happy couple alone." My gosh! But Eddie's saying this will definitely be a clash of two interesting personalities. So it'll be interesting. I'm a little worried because. Well, actually, no. I think Tony is becoming very much like Cameron Grimes, like on Andre Chase. He could very easily lose, but people like the character so much, he'll be fine. I'll be pretty bummed out if Dexter winds up losing next week, because Tony's everyone's kind of favorite new star here. But definitely, so it's interesting. I think again, it's a cool clash of characters here.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think the thing they're going to try to do is win fans over by making it more, I don't want to say edgy, because it's not really edgy, but just like dramatic. Let's go with that. Drama. They want drama.
Yeah, and again, I thought we had great matches tonight, and I enjoyed those. I didn't enjoy some of the vignettes that didn't really hit for me. The Duke Hudson kind of challenging for the poker showdown rather than a match and whatever. But when the stories are good and when they're like actually entertaining, then I'm on board. Like I like the balance of wrestling and good stories. And if this is the newest chapter in the Index universe, I guess, cool. I'm on board. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with it. DJ commented earlier, and I was asking about it before I get out of here, about Cora and Raquel kind of somewhat beefing over who gets to face Dakota first, because Cora wanted to face Dakota after what happened last week when Dakota beat her down. Raquel obviously wanted revenge as well. Wonder if we get a tag team match with maybe Cora Dakota versus Raquel. Did I miss that? Cora and Raquel versus Dakota and Mandy. Sorry about that. Over the place. But I mean, maybe that would make sense. I mean, you got Dakota wanting, or Raquel wanting revenge on Dakota. You've got Cora wanting revenge on Dakota as well. So there's something there. You tie in Mandy because Raquel wants the title back. There are less. That makes sense. Again, we're not quite sure what's going to happen with Mandy kind of blowing off Kelly Ray. Maybe having the suit of Io Shirai. So maybe she gets tied in there as well. Maybe that. I mean, who even knows? Maybe that's how we get at War Games. But what do you think about that possibility, John?
I like that idea, and I think there is some. There has been enough story development in history where it would make sense.
Yeah, so I would definitely not mind if that would be a main event. next week or week after that, or again, if they draw it out all the way to War Games, they'll be pretty darn good. So with that, Stephen wondering where Santos Escobar is. I have not heard anything about that. I don't really want to speculate about it. He's been absent for, I think, 2 weeks now, I believe, because we saw Legato. They tried to recruit Zion Quinn. He turned him down. So that looks like we'll be going with that. But no idea what's up with Santos. Hopefully everything's good on that front. As soon as we know any more about that, we'll share that information both here and on WrestleZone and the grid format. But no report on that for now. But hopefully it's all good there. So with that, John, again, we had some good tonight, some not so good. What did you think about the show overall?
I would probably go with a 6.75. I thought it was pretty well put together. There was enough storyline progression to make you interested to see what happens next week, and of course, the announcement of War Games.
Yeah. For me, I would largely agree. Maybe I would probably go for a 6.5, and that's what Steven is saying as well. DJ, pretty low with a 5.5. Didn't really dig it tonight, but it's everyone to each their own. I would agree. I wasn't fully liking it too much. Nestor with a 7 though, so not a bad show. Not we've obviously seen worse. So I think for me at least, the prospect of War Games, of having a special show like that, definitely something to look forward to. Not just saying the War Games announcement itself gets a 7. Laura more in line of what we were saying, about a 6 there. So not a bad show. By and large, in some ways feeling better than it did last week, but also there's a lot in the middle of the show that kind of dragged me down a little bit as well. So Herman with a 5, saying he fell asleep during the show. So hey, I don't blame you, man. More often than not, I've got to drink coffee to get through some of these shows that are on the rough side. But with that being said, no matter what, whether it's good, bad, or in between, John and I will be back here next week to talk about it. We'll be here on Monday to talk about Monday Night Raw. Robert and I will be here on Friday to talk about Friday Night SmackDown. Otherwise, we've got a great stream of interviews constantly coming at you guys. Bill Pritchard recently interviewed Booker T. Dominic interviewed Mick Foley. My interview with Dylan Postel or Hornswoggle will be going live later this week, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. All these things and more, as well as two Dynamite Dudes attitude about all things AEW. All this and more available on all of our platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, the rest. Any audio platform you can imagine, we're probably there. So make sure to look us up and to subscribe. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you for listening and for keeping the conversation going, for letting us know your thoughts. And with that being said, John, again, whether it's a night where it's a great show or a night where it's not such a good one, we try to do one thing above all others, and can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everybody.